The farmer couldn't stop his hands from shaking. 60 pounds of bronze armor pressing down on shoulders that yesterday had been swinging a scythe through wheat fields. His name was Aristides. He owned a small olive grove outside Athens, and in approximately 1 hour he was going to charge across a mile of open ground directly into 25,000 Persian professional soldiers who'd conquered from India to Egypt without ever losing a battle. The September sun was already climbing, turning his bronze cuirass into an oven, and he could feel sweat pooling inside the padding. Across Marathon's plain, he could see them thousands upon thousands of enemy warriors whose very presence here meant Athens, his wife, his children, and democracy itself were about to be extinguished. The mathematics were brutal. His side had maybe 11,000 men. The Persians? At least double that, probably more. And yet somehow, impossibly, by sunset 6,400 Persians would be dead, while only 192 Greeks had fallen. This is Marathon, September 12, 490 BC. The day citizen farmers proved that free men defending their homes possess a strength no professional army can match. But here's what makes it impossible. The Greeks had every disadvantage, outnumbered at least 2.5 to 1, no cavalry whatsoever, barely any archers. Just heavy infantrymen who trained maybe once a month between harvests. Against them stood Persia's elite, immortals who'd never known defeat, 10,000 cavalry whose mere presence usually guaranteed victory, professional soldiers from a dozen conquered nations. The Persian Empire controlled 50 million subjects across 3 continents. Athens? 30,000 citizens clinging to an 18-year-old experiment called democracy. Yet, when the dust settled, Greece had saved Western civilization and Persia had learned that empires bleed. How? One 60-year-old general who'd fought for both sides, 10,000 horses that vanished at the crucial moment, and an 11-minute sprint in full armor that rewrote every rule of ancient warfare. What you're about to discover will change how you understand courage, tactics, and why ideas matter more than armies. To grasp how farmers crushed an empire, you need to understand what hung in the balance. In 490 BC, Athens was a democratic anomaly, the only place on earth where common citizens voted on laws, where men stood eye to eye instead of prostrating before kings. Democracy was 18 years old, younger than most warriors who fight at Marathon, and the Persian Empire wanted it dead. Not just defeated, erased from history before it could inspire others. King Darius I controlled territory from Egypt's Nile to India's Indus River. When he commanded armies to march, they moved. When he demanded submission, nations knelt. His royal road stretched 1,600 miles. His treasury could fund decades of war. His professional military had conquered civilizations that had stood for centuries. One word meant absolute power across 3 continents: Persia. The conflict's spark came in 499 BC, when Greek cities in Ionia, western Turkey, revolted against Persian rule. They begged mainland Greece for help. Sparta, militarily supreme but politically cautious, refused involvement. But Athens, young democracy burning with idealistic fervor, sent 20 warships. It was strategic madness poking the world superpower with a stick. The Ionian revolt ultimately failed, but not before Athenian soldiers had burned Sardis, a major Persian administrative center. Darius never forgot this insult. Legend says he ordered a servant to whisper at every meal, "Master, remember the Athenians." For a decade, Persia prepared its response. Every captured Greek merchant ship provided intelligence about Athenian defenses. Every coastal raid tested response times and military capabilities. By 490 BC, Persian commanders possessed detailed knowledge. Athens could field approximately 10,000 hoplites, heavy infantry in bronze armor. Athenian walls were formidable, but the surrounding countryside was vulnerable. Most Greek city-states wouldn't risk Persian wrath by offering help. The invasion force that sailed for Greece should have ended democracy before it could reshape civilization. 600 ships carrying 25,000 elite infantry and 10,000 cavalry. The arithmetic seemed final. When the Persian fleet darkened Marathon's horizon, it looked like the end of the world. 600 warships, disgorging 25,000 soldiers onto the beach. Medes in scale armor that glittered like fish scales, Persians in quilted linen tunics designed for mobility, Sake warriors with distinctive pointed caps and deadly battle axes. But the weapon that made Persia nearly invincible gleamed in the September sun: 10,000 cavalry, mounted warriors who'd shattered every army from the Danube to the Ganges. Against this overwhelming force stood Athens' entire military capability. 10,000 hoplites, citizen soldiers aged 20 to 50, who'd left their farms and workshops. With them marched 1,000 men from tiny Plataea, Athens' only ally, courageous enough to risk Persian vengeance. Every other Greek city-state had calculated the odds and chosen self-preservation over solidarity. The late September heat was oppressive even by Mediterranean standards, temperatures climbing past 95 degrees Fahrenheit by midday, transforming bronze armor into mobile ovens that cooked men alive. Marathon's geography seemed designed by gods for Persian victory. The plain stretched 5 miles, offering perfect terrain for cavalry maneuvers that had decided 100 battles. Mountains to the north blocked any Greek escape inland. The Aegean Sea to the east offered Persian ships safe anchorage and rapid withdrawal if needed. For Greeks to attack across this killing ground was tactical suicide. Leading the Persian forces, Datis, a grizzled veteran who'd crushed rebellions from Egypt to India and knew Greek warfare intimately, and Artaphernes, King Darius's nephew, burning with personal vendetta since Greeks had destroyed his provincial capital. They commanded multilingual professional soldiers, possessed Greek advisors including Hippias, Athens' exiled tyrant, eager to rule again under Persian protection, and understood hoplite tactics thoroughly. But Athens possessed one advantage Persians didn't anticipate: Miltiades. This changed everything. Miltiades was 60 years old, scarred from decades of combat, and he'd spent years ruling Thracian territories for Persia. He'd attended Persian war councils, observed their tactical discussions, understood how their command structure functioned. When he fled Persian service and found refuge in democratic Athens, he brought invaluable intelligence that would prove decisive. For 5 agonizing days, neither army moved. It became a psychological warfare contest played under brutal September sun. Each dawn, 10,000 Greeks in bronze armor marched from foothills and formed battle lines on high ground. Each evening, as temperatures finally dropped, they withdrew to defensive positions. Persians couldn't advance up the slope without exposing flanks to Greek spears. Greeks couldn't charge downhill without abandoning terrain advantage and facing Persian cavalry in open ground suicide. The heat was murderous. Late September in Greece means daytime temperatures hitting 95 to 100 degrees. Inside bronze breastplates, cuirasses, and helmets, men cooked. Water was rationed carefully. Feet swelled grotesquely inside sandals. The psychological torture of waiting, staring across the plain at an enemy that outnumbered you, knowing your families and city lay vulnerable behind you, frayed nerves to breaking point. Some warriors prayed to Athena and Ares. Others obsessively sharpened spears. All understood the mathematics. Defeat meant Athens enslaved, democracy extinguished, Western civilization taking an unrecognizably different path. But time favored Persia strategically. Every day Athens' army remained at Marathon was another day. Persian ships could sail around Attica and land forces closer to undefended Athens. Datis possessed patience, systematically probing Greek positions, waiting for citizen soldier morale to crack. Nightly war councils in the Greek camp became increasingly desperate. 10 elected generals argued strategy. 5 advocated immediate attack, better to die fighting than watch Persia outmaneuver them. 5 urged defensive patience, wait for promised Spartan reinforcements delayed by religious festival obligations. The deadlock rested with Callimachus, the pole march, a ceremonial position never meant for actual battlefield command. This man, who'd never led more than village militia drills, now held democracy's survival in trembling hands. Miltiades pressed his case every night. I've fought with Persians and against them. Without cavalry support, they're vulnerable. We'll never get this opening again. but 10,000 horses grazed visibly near Persian camps. The cavalry hadn't gone anywhere. The stalemate continued grinding through September heat, until the morning of day 6, when scouts brought intelligence that would trigger the most audacious military gamble in ancient history. September 12, 490 BC. Dawn reconnaissance delivered impossible news. The cavalry lines stood empty. All 10,000 horses, Persia's hammer, the weapon that had crushed 100 armies, had vanished overnight. Where? The historical mystery has never been definitively solved. Most scholars theorize they'd been embarked on ships for a surprise amphibious landing near Athens itself, temporarily leaving infantry exposed. Others suggest large-scale inland foraging operations. What matters is that Miltiades recognized fleeting opportunity where others saw elaborate trap. The Emergency War Council convened amid desperate tension. 5 generals screamed obvious trap cavalry would reappear the instant Greeks advanced. Miltiades countered with insider knowledge. I've seen how they operate. Without mounted support, their infantry formations become vulnerable to concentrated heavy infantry assault. This chance won't come again. Every eye turned to Callimachus. Attack or defend? Charge across lethal open ground or maintain positions? His voice barely steady. For Athens, we attack. The formation Miltiades ordered violated fundamental principles of Greek hoplite warfare. Normally, heavy infantry distributed evenly across their front, creating uniform depth for pushing power in the crush of combat. But Miltiades, remembering Persian tactical doctrine, made a desperate gamble that looked like amateur incompetence. He weakened his center to just 4 ranks deep, dangerously thin, while reinforcing both wings to 8 ranks deep. To experienced warriors, this formation appeared suicidal. The thin center would shatter instantly against Persian veterans. But Miltiades understood something Persians didn't. Greek warfare was about to change forever. As bronze helmets were strapped tight and 8-foot spears were hefted, every warrior understood the odds. Most would die within the hour. But something else burned in their chests beyond fear, a fierce pride that if death came today, it would find them standing free, not kneeling as slaves.